Z Junkie. Today's podcast is on gratitude. Something I simply just didn't have. I had no gratitude. A crucial distinction between gratitude and saying thank you is that thank you is simply expression. A gratitude is a show of appreciation. So yeah, for half a century I had none. Okay, yeah, my response to be somebody that did something for me, or was trying to help me was, thanks, man, thanks, yeah, thanks, man, thanks, that's all. Yeah, thank you, man, that's it. Just never had any gratitude. Even my thank yous were hollow. My thank yous weren't even thank yous, let alone have gratitude. So I found gratitude. By way of my bottom, by way of the gift of desperation that my bottom created for me. Okay, the gift of desperation was a byproduct of my bottom. Yeah, I found that, I found that gift of desperation when I hit my bottom. And that gift of desperation came in a room with 2 steel doors and no windows on an island off of Miami Beach. I was in that room for 2.5 weeks. Mainlining coke straight to my heart and brain. In that room, I seen my disease face to face. I seen the addiction face to face. For the first time, I seen the addiction face to face. In that room for 2.5 weeks, with no windows and 2 steel doors, okay, with my arms butchered, with skin peeling off my body, okay, for those 2.5 weeks, I got tossed around in that room. I got thrown into walls in that room. I got slammed to the floor in that room. I got tossed all over that room. And I was the only human in that room. I needed that. Because since 1978, I just couldn't get honest. I hit bottoms. But not a bottom like this. You see, I hit financial bottoms. I hit physical bottoms. I hit mental bottoms. I hit emotional bottoms. But I never hit a spiritual bottom. I didn't even know what hitting a spiritual bottom was until I hit this bottom I was talking about in this room with 2 steel doors and no windows. Okay? I got my butt spiritually kicked in that room. And there was my bottom that came from that. And the only gratitude I have greater for my bottom is that from a God of my understanding. Okay? My bottom is right second to the God of my understanding as far as my gratitude. So what did I do, What did it look like before hitting the spiritual bottom? Well, I'd simply, after getting locked up at age 13, 14 for 18 months, I stopped losing stuff. Since that time, I've been giving it away. So what did it look like? Okay, before I hit my bottom, before the gift of desperation, and before gratitude and the ability to be honest. I get high. I get dope sick. I'd give everything away. I'd fix physical. I'd fix emotional. And I repeat. I'd get high. I'd get dope sick. Give everything away. Fix physical. Fix material. And I would repeat. You see, it's very, very, very important to understand what your insanity looked like. In the second step, along with answering the second step and doing the reading on it and the writing on it and the sharing of it so I can understand the principles, so I could put them into actual application and get true understanding and get some lifestyle out of them. I also had to describe my insanity. So here I am in this room being tossed around. Okay? Yeah, let's just say that's where my solution took me. Yeah, my solution. Once again, I try to say this in every podcast. Don't mistake your solution for the addiction. The addiction needs life force. Okay? That's all it needs. It has no need for either I or you. It needs life force. Our solution, by way of choice, when we make it our own or not, when we make it our own, okay, and choose the addiction's will over the God of our understandings, because we have none. You need to remember that. Our power lies in choice. Don't ever get into the thinking and the confusion in which the addiction banks on that when we're not doing the God of our understanding's will, we're doing our own. That's a joke. When I'm not doing the will of the God of my understandings, by default, I'm in the will of the addiction. So don't ever mistake the solution, okay, for the addiction. That's where the solution took me. That's where my solution took me, in that room. You know, what would be, a good question to be asking, where did your solution take you today? I don't know. My solution's drugs. I slam stuff straight to my heart and brain. I don't know. What's your solution? Food? Gambling? Sex? Codependent relationships? Alcohol? Money? Work? Goes on and on and on and on and on. Don't ever mistake your solution for the addiction. That's another confusion that the addiction banks on. Just like we're taking back our own will. We're not doing the will of the God of our understanding. Okay, that's another confusion that it banks on. So in this room, I got my butt kicked spiritually. Okay, that brought me to my bottom, which brought me to my true gift of desperation, in which I could finally get honest. And I guess that honesty really begun in that room. It's either I was going to see this gift of how seriously desperate I was, or I was going to die. I had to either see the gift of desperation, or I was going to die. Yeah, so that brought me back for a minute. Gratitude, okay? It's showing appreciation, okay? It's not just saying thank you, okay? And what I first needed to get with that is getting to the honest acceptance of the difference between gratitude and thank you. Thank you is an expression. That's it, at best. Gratitude is action. It's showing the appreciation. Okay? So, there's those first step principles. I need to honestly accept the difference in those two things. And to see that difference in the beginning, okay, years ago, to see that difference in the beginning, okay, what does acceptance mean? Acceptance means in the action of giving consent to receive or to undertake something. Okay, when I'm giving the action, being in the consent of receiving or undertaking is always the power of the God of my understanding. So I have the ability to see what it is I need to see and then surrender that. Okay, if it's that of the defect, or surrender to this, the principle and the freedom in which it's trying to offer you, no matter how that's showing up. Okay, I need to get into acceptance. I need to see first what it is that I'm actually surrendering. Okay, so I need to see the difference. I talk in other podcasts. About the will, the two wills. I talk in other podcasts about the first step principles. Okay, so I need to honestly get into acceptance, the difference between those two. First, just get some understanding that, saying thank you really doesn't do much in life. Showing my gratitude for things does. Okay, and remaining open-minded and willing, okay, in that gives me the hope. Those are the second step principles, okay, that someday I could show my gratitude. Okay, that's where I was years ago, and I nurture that each and every day. I remind myself of that each and every day, and I'm in that first step each and every day, throughout each day, 1 to infinite times a day, recommitting back to my program. That's living the program, recommitting back. It's a cornerstone, okay, in living the program, in the recommitment back to the program. which is the 12 steps and the principles that lie within in their actual application and living the lifestyle that comes from that. So where was it? Where did I find gratitude? Okay, I got some understanding, right? I'm understanding there's a difference between gratitude and just saying thank you. Okay, all right. It was in the third step. Once again, that faith, trust, and commitment, those three major principles in that third step, turning my will over to the care of God. Okay, to the care of God. Making that decision. Okay. So what does that mean? So when I was in the third step, sometime during the third step, the God of my understanding, okay, literally showed me, he had his hand on my forehead. And I was like one of these little kids just peeling out in the dirt, burying myself. Okay, and all I was doing in the third step, okay, was all these thank yous to the God of my understanding, all these, like, praises and all these hallelujahs and all this other stuff. Okay, no gratitude there, just a lot of lip service. Okay, and he had his hand on my forehead, and he told me to sit down. And then he sat down right in front of me, and he said, "Z, you want to know? You know what? You want to know how you can thank me? Okay, is pray only for the knowledge of my will and my power to be carried out in you, and do it." Okay, and when you get ecstatic about that, okay, or if you want to just thank me for that, pray once again for only the knowledge of my will and my power to be carried out in you. And do it. And in the doing of that, okay, there will be the gratitude. Because gratitude's an action. So what's that look like? That's helping the next guy that's suffering in a fellowship, whatever your solution is. I don't know, if it's food, help the next guy with the food issues. Okay? If it's gambling, do that. If it's sex, do that. Okay? So how do you do that? Well, first of all, you make sure a door is open. There's an actual meeting going on. Okay? There's no greater gratitude that I could show my predecessors that came before me than keeping the door open and a meeting open for somebody to come in and hear some recovery. Not some war story. That's good for identification. That should be about 20% at best. The rest should be recovery. We know how to do our solution. Okay, we don't know how to stay clean from it, though. Okay, so keeping the door open. Okay, creating a meeting. Okay, creating an area. Okay, going into places in which people can't come out. Okay, into hospitals, into institutions, into places people can't come out and bring a message of hope. Okay, these are things that I could talk about until the cows come home, sitting on my couch with my thumb up my ass. Okay? But it's not until I walk out the door, okay, and start doing them, in which my gratitude shows, in which what was so freely given to me, now I'm freely given back to the next guy. Yes, it's in another podcast I talk about we're forever non-professional. What we get is forever non-professional. Our recovery can only come forever non-professional. I speak about that. Okay? All right? It's in the podcast of treatment centers. Okay? All right? Listen to that podcast. Back to the gratitude. That's showing my gratitude. Somebody needs a ride, go pick them up. Okay? Recovery has to be service-oriented. Not service-based. Don't make that mistake. Recovery has to be service-oriented. The gratitude that we show with what the God of our understanding wants us to go do, okay, in service, in society, and in self, okay? That's how we do it. Okay, we discover self through those things. And the actual application of those things. You can't recover without action. You can't recover without action. Recovery is not just a one-shot gig. Okay, recovery is a series. Each day, just for today, we recover. Okay, we need to wake up tomorrow and do what we did today and move on in that and nurture that and increase it. And the only way that happens, okay, is the showing of gratitude. There's two things that go missing in my recovery when my ability to accept personal responsibilities gets like it was before I walked into the rooms of recovery. When the ability of my ability to accept personal responsibilities gets back to where or somewhere in reflection of in my using days, there's two things that go missing. Okay, two things I didn't have in my using days. One is gratitude, and the other one is humor. Okay, I was dead serious on being dead, so there went to humor. I never had it. Okay, and gratitude, I shared about that in the beginning of this podcast. Yeah, thanks, man. That's about all you could get from me is yeah, thanks. You know, so gratitude's an action. You know, and showing gratitude for your own recovery. Okay, getting into action. Okay, finding that sponsor/spiritual advisor. Okay, to help guide you through these steps. Okay, taking responsibility, taking personal responsibility about your own recovery. You know, it says I wasn't responsible for the addiction. Okay, I could get with that. But I was responsible in feeding it. Okay, I made choice to feed it and to suffer from it and exhaust jails, institutions, and death for everything they have to offer until one of them will become irreversible. And the only reason why I'm sitting here is because one of them didn't. But gratitude for oneself is taking care. We can take care of ourselves these days. And for this addict, it started with the steps. If all I came in with was defect, how do I know to do anything else? Where do I refer to operate any differently? The steps get me through that confusion. It has me understand some principles. It has me put that into actual application. Okay? It has me experiencing a lifestyle that's beyond anything I could have ever imagined. And I'm talking about internal. Okay? That's where it all comes from. Form will never create substance. It won't happen. I tried it for over half a century. Form will never create substance. The substance within me, okay, the form becomes a byproduct of. So gratitude. You know, I have to ask a question every day. You know, Z, who are you going to show your gratitude to? Who are you going to show your appreciation to today? Is it going to be the will of the God of your understanding that brings you to where your heart truly desires to be? Having you be in purpose? And experiencing a life beyond your wildest dreams? Okay, profoundly internally? Or are you going to show your appreciation, your gratitude for the will of the addiction? By way of choice, I make my own or not. Either of them. Who am I going to show my appreciation to today? Who am I going to give my choices over to? What will am I going to choose to move into? How is it that I'm going to show my gratitude? Well, you know, the gratitude, okay, when I'm serving the will of the addiction, there is no gratitude. It doesn't exist. So I have to ask myself, where am I going to show my gratitude today? Okay? Is it going to aid my recovery? Is it going to serve my recovery? Or is it going to serve the addiction? You know? It's very important to ask that. Gratitude. It's action.